Hi there. This is a setup video for the Barlus Underwater IP camera for the English market. These cameras are made out of 304 stainless steel and are designed to be able to handle both freshwater and saltwater continuously. These cameras are IP68 rated, which means they are protected from total ingress of dust and water for long-term immersion up to a specified pressure. The specific camera that I'm using is rated for 15 meters or 49.2 feet continuously. They also use a corrosion-resistant, anti-stretch, and abrasion-resistant underwater cable that can handle over 170 pounds of pulling power against it. There's various lengths of cables to choose from, or the company can make custom length cables for you. Most of these cameras have infrared light bulbs to light up the scene at night in black and white. During the day, they will be color. The company also sells the 316L camera, which has both infrared for night vision lights, and it also has white LED lights, which are controllable in the software based on the time of day, and there's different settings for how bright or dim you need those lights. You may only see 2 or 3 camera models on Amazon, but this company has a large assortment on their Chinese website of different camera that it will work for your application, so I would reach out to them directly and they can set you up with even better cameras, including a zoom lens within the 316 housing, so you could zoom in and out digitally. And they also have one with a windshield wiper, which will clean off the lens momentarily. Okay, on the screen I'm going to put up their American website and the address to go check out their additional cameras, but they have even more on the Chinese website. And also I'm going to put up their email address. You can get a hold of them, and their goal is to get back to you within 12 hours. The working temperature for these cameras are -20 to 55 C, which is about -4 to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. These cameras are powered by a 12 volt and 2 amp power supply that comes in the box, but they can be powered by Power over Ethernet or PoE Plus using the 802.3 AF standard, which allows you to power the camera long distances up to 80 to 100 meters away, which is somewhere around 250 to 330 feet. It does this at 48 to 54 volts in order to handle the long cable runs. You can buy a PoE injector for about $16 to $20 to power this long distance over the cable. Okay, let's move on to how we set up this camera to connect to your local network, your network video recorder, or the very popular Blue Iris security software. First, let's talk about how to plug this camera into your local network. So you can use this 12 volt 2 amp power supply to power the camera if you don't have a PoE injector or you don't have a PoE switch. So now we have power to the camera. And next you can take the Ethernet cable to the RJ45 port. And from there, you're just going to simply plug your camera into your home local router or local network. That's one way of doing it here. Doesn't matter which port it goes into. And your computer is probably already connected to that Wi-Fi router, so you won't need the yellow cable in most instances. And I'm sure your power is already on your router at this point, but this is just showing the power up of the router. And this yellow cable, as long as you have Wi-Fi to your laptop or desktop, you don't really need this, but this is just a simple way to show you that your computer is speaking to that Wi-Fi switch or router. Now I'm going to show you my preferred way of powering and connecting the Barlus underwater camera. I'm going to use this $17 PoE Plus injector, and this will allow me to have a long cable run. So I'll just plug my PoE injector into the household outlet, and you have 2 ports on here. One port will go to the camera and one port will go to your local network. The cable from the camera to this box can be very long, between 80 to 100 meters, which is around 230 to 330 feet. So this yellow cable here, we're going to use that to connect to our home network. And the gray cable here is now supplying electricity and data to the camera. So I'll plug this into the Barlus RJ45 adapter, and because of that, because it has 48 to 54 volts, I don't need the 12 volt 2 amp adapter that we saw earlier. This setup is ideal to me because that gray cable there could perceivably be very, very long, 80 to 100 meters to get it back to the house, and you won't have to have a power supply nearby like this 12 volt 120 on the other side. So you can actually get rid of this as long as you have a PoE injector or a PoE switch back inside your house. Okay, one more option for connecting the Barlus camera to make it wireless is to buy one of these Nano Routers. They're about $20 to $30, and they do take electricity, but it allows you to turn in this whole area to be wireless, so that this little box is going to go speak to your wireless router, and you won't need any cables entering the house. Now, Wi-Fi is not the best for security camera use and not always stable, so this is not the ideal setup, but this is just an alternate option. It's a bit more complex, so skip this section if it doesn't make sense to you. As you can now see, I have no Ethernet cable entering the house. I just have a power cable, and using wireless Wi-Fi, it is beaming the camera back to my home Ethernet router over to my iPad, and I can see my Barlus Underwater camera with no wires into the house. Like I said, this is an advanced option, but here is the TP-Link N300 for about $30 on Amazon, and that allows you to have a Wi-Fi bridge back to your home internet and basically turns any device into be a wireless device. And so that is one option, but more complex and not as reliable as a hardwired Ethernet connection. This is a nice schematic that shows you how we're going to plug in the cameras. Each camera comes with a USB thumb drive, which software inside is called either VMS or CMS, and you want to install that for both Mac and PC. Using the software will allow you to find the camera on the network, adjust the IP address, as well as tons of other specific camera settings. Installing the software is straightforward, just simply follow the prompts. Eventually, you'll get installation successful. You'll want to choose English, hit OK, and that will finish the install process. Login is super with no password, and that will begin opening the CMS software. Our goal inside this software is to go find our camera and adjust any settings that we need to. So first, I will go down to System on the bottom right. Then we're going to click on Device Manager. And click on Zone List. Then we're going to click on Add Area. Name it whatever you want. Hit OK. Click on what you named it, then click on Add Device. Inside here, we want to do an IP search, and as long as your camera is powered up and plugged into your local switch or router or computer, it will find your camera. It usually defaults to 192.168.10. Inside here, we can hit Edit Device, and then that will allow you to change critical things like IP address, ports, and name and password. This will be a critical step for some that may need a specific IP address for their camera. Otherwise, just leave it as default. And you'll hit OK to save it, and then now do another search and re-find your camera in case you changed any of those settings. Okay, now that your camera's back up, click on it, and we want to add device. That will put the IP camera on the top left of the CMS software shortly. You'll hit OK. Hit OK again. Now your camera will be loading up here on the top left, so I want to double click on this. And it's a little slow, so be patient, but your camera pops up. Double click again, and now we can see the image from your IP camera. Now we are able to change important stuff within the camera using the CMS software. Normally this is done with a web browser on a lot of security cameras, but in this case we need to use this configuration software. So if I click here, I'll right click on the camera screen and it'll bring up this menu, and here we can check the version of the system software installed or anything like that. But more importantly, we want to go back, click on this cogwheel, and that's going to bring up all the settings for the camera. For example, we can look at the encoding, how many megapixels it's set to broadcast at 1080p, frames per second, audio, video. This is the sub stream on the right side, so a lower quality stream. You'll hit save and OK. This also allows you to change IP address, passwords, anything like that. I highly suggest you change the default password immediately. Okay, that's the end of how to connect it to the CMS software. Now that it is connected to your local network, you don't need to use the software anymore. At this point, I would connect the camera to my NVR or network video recorder and operate it that way, or I'll show you how to connect it to the Blue Iris security software that's very popular in the English market. Okay, here we are within the Blue Iris software. The first step you would take is click here, add new camera, label the camera, then go to network and direct to disk recording. I would hit OK. And now we want to go find that camera. So hit find. Here it is. It's the 168.1.10. I'll hit OK. Once it's done, we'll hit close. Put in your username and password, whatever that is. It found out that it was a generic ONIF camera at this model and recording settings and at these ports. Now we will hit OK. And from here you can adjust the frame rate to match what you have your settings as. And you can adjust recordings or anything like that. But at this point you're pretty much done. Hit OK. It's trying to go speak to your camera now. And here you are within Blue Iris software connected to your Barlus Underwater video camera. Not only is this great within this Blue Iris user interface, but this Blue Iris is fantastic through a web browser or through your mobile phone app. Okay, so I pulled up my security system. I used Blue Iris. I'm going to do a video on that at some point. And here is the live feed from the Barlus Underwater camera, and it's streaming wirelessly on that adapter that I showed earlier in the video. So this is not even a hardwired connection. Let's throw up some stats for the nerds. We're streaming at 7 to 8 megabits per second. Native resolution is 2300 by about 1300. And we're currently in 4K mode, and you can see the resolution of this camera is excellent. I can see a lot of clarity and detail, and you can see exactly what's going on in the pool. And it's currently nighttime, so this is just the lights within the pool, and all the way across the pool I could make out any object that I needed to. So really impressed with the clarity and quality of this Barlus camera, and it is Blue Iris capable. It's network video receiver recorder, capable. The confusing part for many of you is going to be just getting it started. So if you can just get that CMS software installed, Go inside, adjust your IP settings for what you need. This camera is awesome.